Well, today's episode, as you know, we normally have Tuesday wrestling, but however, from what I've not been aware of, as you know, there was no dark elevation. Well, there'll be no dark at all due to the fact that the both shows are now being called off, which is unfortunate, but that doesn't mean I can't stop there. So, as you know, normally we will continue with both NWA Powerrr and NXT. But I decided to add one more event. This one is from Ganbare Joshi, or Gangjo, as they call it. This is their second show so far today. Second or third, I'm not sure. This one's called Fire Emblem. This took place recently at this as also part of Tuesday Wrestling. Pretty good, interesting matches. I think I'm really gonna enjoy this one. But also, we got some news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events are being put out from what promotion, who's being booked, any wrestlers who are injured, and the whole enchilada. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome, everybody, to Deleted Wrestle Zone. All things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Gerard here. So, let's get started with Ganbare Joshi, or as they call it, Gangjo. Now, those who aren't familiarized with this promotion, this is part of the what is the Ganbare Pro Wrestling brand from the Wrestle Universe. Now, let me explain what this one's about. A couple of months ago, this was announced that there's going to be a Yoshi show with the Ganbare brand. Now, it's run by Yuna Manaze. If you guys aren't familiarized with Yuna Manaze, she is a veteran wrestler. She is solely responsible in training wrestlers such as Sariori Onoi, Natsupoi, Tam Nakano, Unagi Sayaka, um, now Kakuta, and various others. So basically, she, as you know, she trained wrestlers in At-Risk Girls and of course in Tokyo Joshi Pro, but decided to leave to do what she has left. Now she continues to train um, young wrestlers when they leave the promotions. Recently, she trained Yuri and Hasegawa, but this was a dream of her to have a Ganbare brand with only strictly with the Yoshi wrestlers, doing in single show. Now we have seen Yoshi wrestlers participate in Ganbare Pro, either Yoshi wrestlers versus Yoshi wrestlers, or in mixed tag matches. However, this is solely strict for them. Now this particular brand was supposed to be put on hold for a while because of Yunamane as they got injured, but Yuri and Hasegawa pleaded with Oka to continued with this brand regardless. And of course, Oka was touched by what they wanted. And of course, they gained the respect of Arukaze and of course, what's her name, Moeka Aruhi, who saw they are the true future of what this brand needs. And I think that's why this show is so important. I did not see the show restart, but luckily for me, I got to see this one, Fire Emblem. So let's get started. Now we have like a sort of like a pre-show. It's an exhibition match. We have this girl named Rira. I don't. Hopefully, I pronounced it right. She takes on Moika Aruhi in the exhibition match. Now, um, Riara, in the other hand, she also came from At-Risk Girls, and Hasegawa spoke highly a little bit about her due to the fact that she also came from At-Risk Girls, but being now with the Ganbare Gangjo, it gave her another perspective. But the match itself was okay. I kind of figured it was gonna go into a time limit draw because with exhibition matches, half and half is normally either a time limit draw or someone wins. But in this case, it went up to a 5 minute time limit draw. Now, before the start of the show, Yuna Maneze comes out, give it a little promo. Wish I knew what she was saying, but she even invited Riara, onto the ring with her. I'm not sure if the idea is they're gonna sign her to be part permanently with the promotion. I'm not sure, but it seems interesting. Now, our first opening match is the Gato Move offer match. This is where we have wrestlers from the Gato Move promotion. More specifically, we have Chiko Chikawa taking on Tokiko Kihara. So this was a bit of a fun match. If you guys ever seen Chi, she is known as Too Much Energy, and you probably know why. She's a bit more faster. She has way too much energy. But she applied a schoolboy onto Tokiko Kihara. Now, I wasn't sure if it was really from the video's perspective, but she picked up a really good win. So, nice one. Now, our next match, we have Marika Kobashi taking on Ami Manaze, the supposedly sister of Yuna Manaze. In reality, is Rina Mikura, but don't say anything. Shh. So, anyway, I thought this match was pretty good. I liked it. But unfortunately, the party got crashed once again by Miyako Matsumoto and her new friend, Alex Lee. Now, recently we have seen Miyako Matsumoto showing up during random Ganbare shows, demanding that she wanted to be part of this show. Nobody wanted to be involved with her whatsoever, so she crashed the party. So they decided to make this match with Miyako Matsumoto and Alex Lee against Ami Manaze and Marika Kobashi. You can tell that everybody did not like Miyako for what she did, but in the end, it was, of course, Ami with the Suzuki Dynamite onto Matsumoto that put her away. And this is great. But however, during the post match comments, Miyako did mention that if she doesn't get invited, she knows where the booker lives. The reason she knows where he lives, they used to both work with Ice Ribbon. So it's more like either you book me the next time or I'll find you. So it's like that. So we'll see how that plays out. Now, our next match, we have two friends from the At Risk Girls times, Yoshiko Hasegawa and, of course, Tai Hamna. Now, if you guys aren't familiarized, Hasegawa originally came from At Risk Girls. There are some clips you can see her in those shows, including doing the dance. It's great that those two who knew each other got to see each other again. Hasegawa went for a year hiatus or something like that, but she came back. It was a pretty good match, but I knew this was going to end with Tai Hamna applying the tie lock, giving her the win. But nonetheless, two good friends faced off again after who knows how long they haven't seen each other. Now, our main event, we have the members from Just Tap Out, GTO, Hisoka and Tomoka Inaba taking on Moika, Aruhi, and Yuri. Now, recently Yuri had a deal with Tomoka Inaba. During their first show that they had with Restart, Tomoka Inaba showed up unannounced to the Gangjo show and was willing to put her title on the line against Yuri. Now, Yuri left Just Tap Out a couple years back due to the fact that she was tired of being in the shadow of Tomoka Inaba. So that's kind of like why she did that. And Tomoka Inaba felt that you can't run away from me. But basically, Yuri had to face her past. But in this case, it was Yuri who picked up the win when she applied a swanton bomb onto Iizuka, giving them the win. So I thought it was a pretty good show. I liked it, despite the fact that Miyako ruined the party. But that's how it is. I think that's pretty much it right now with Gangjo. So let's move on with, I believe, NWA Powerrr. Okay, NWA Powerrr. Now, opened up with Kyle Davis inside the ring doing an interview with Camille. Now, Camille, as you all know, is the longest reigning champion. She's almost getting up to 700 days as our current NWA Women's World Champion. And the obvious question that, of course, Kyle Davis likes to know, who's next? I mean, it's like she beat everyone. But however, she was interrupted by Daisy Kill and Talos. Now I don't know what these two morons were there, but it looks more like they were doing the bidding of Natalia Markova. Now, Markova goes out of her way to tell that Camille is scared of her. No, Camille is not as scared of anybody. The problem is that Markova doesn't have the guts to, try to, how do I say, step up the plate saying, I want to challenge you. That's how it is. I mean, we've seen that with many of storylines with wrestlers like that. Like we've seen that recently with Impact Wrestling. You know, Steve Macklin going out of his way to saying that Josh Alexander was dunking him. That wasn't true. He wasn't ducking him. He was waiting for him to make his move, but he missed on few occasions. So that's the case. However, Natalia Markova said that she was willing to have a match with her by the end of the night, which is a good thing. Now, our opening match is the NWA National Heavyweight title. We have Carnage from Blunt Force Trauma taking on EC3. Now, you probably can guess this match was going to turn out the opposite effect what we expect. Now, we know that Sweezel, Aaron Stevens, was going to be there, but apparently he hit himself with his loaded glove onto the ring iron part and hurt his hand badly. So I was like, doo-doo-doo. So he basically got neutralized by that, thanks to him. But it was EC3 with the purpose that allowed him to retain his title. Now, our next interview, May Valentine interviews the Hollywood Blondes, consistent of Ray Lynn and Heather Monroe. They are now being put into the space to challenge for the NWA Women's World Tag Team Championships, which is interesting. However, they believe they have the much better advantage since they have a year of experience as a tag team, while Misa Kate and Maddie have a little lesser. But we have seen so far how Maddie and Misa Kate have been successful, but we'll get to that in a bit. Now, we do get another interview with Yapo the Clown. I don't know what the hell this guy was laughing. May Valentine seems kind of like a little nervous to be around him because he doesn't even talk. I don't know what he is. But however, it was foretold that next week on Power, he will be facing the rock and roll legend, Ricky Morton. So he did not say a thing. Now, our next match is the NWA Women's World Tag Team titles. M95 consistent of Misa Kate and Maddie taking on the Hollywood Blondes, Heather Monroe and Ray Lynn. A pretty good match. Not the best, but it did pretty well to make introductions of the Hollywood Blondes. But it was Maddie who, on the other hand, with a scissor kick onto Ray Lynn that allowed them to retain the title. So we'll see who will be next to challenge them. Now, another interview with Kyle. He meets with Tyrus. Now, if you remember a week ago, Tyrus did say that he would like to have another set of gold around his other shoulder. He said that he will enter, of course, the Crockett Cup. The obvious thing is, who is going to be his partner? Now, Jordan Clearwater thought it was going to be him, but he said that he wasn't his partner or he hasn't picked one. Well, the one partner he chose, I did not anticipate this one, and it was none other than, of course, Chris Adonis. It was really interesting. Now, if you guys remember at the 3-1-2, Chris Adonis was Tyrus's opponent for the 10,000 gold. So it's more like, okay, two forces. I mean, we know how strong Chris Adonis can be, so it would be a good combination. So it looks more like he will get that. But however, he will be in the match against the former National Heavyweight Champion, Zion. So I thought this match was the match. I wasn't too pumped for it, but it ended with, of course, Adonis applying the inside cradle. Now, our main event, I have to say this one is a very interesting one. We have Camille versus Natalia Markova. I have to say Natalia Markova put her through the limit in every way possible. Now, we know that Natalia Markova has made decisions and talk about how she wants to aim for the top, and I think that kind of what she did. But this was a non-title match. Now, the rule of thumb, if she wins, there's a guaranteed position that she could get a shot. However, I don't know what that leads because we headed into a time limit draw, which is rare occasions we see that, but it did end in that. I don't know what's going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if Natalia Markova would plead her case, demanding that she has her match with Camille for this title. That is something we could expect, but we'll see what happens next week. And I think that's pretty much it right now with this. I think it's time to move on to the next review, and I think it's our final one, NXT. Okay, NXT. Now, those who do know about me, I don't watch Raw or SmackDown, but you may have heard many of the NXT roster members have been called in to the main roster, such as uh, JD McDonough, Indy Hartwell, our current NXT Women Tag Team Champions, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, and a few possibly others. So I think a lot of questions is asked what this is the future means. But we'll talk about that at some other time or maybe at some point. I don't know. Now, our opening match, we have the NXT North American Championship on the line. Wesley defends it against Drew Gulak, but Wesley has some backup on his corner, Tyler Bate, who decided that he's going to stand by because, as you know, Drew Gulak he's not alone. He has Charlie Dempsey by his side. But of course, like any other moment, Charlie Dempsey gets his monkey ass involved in the match, but Tyler Bate took care of him. But it gave, of course, Wesley the chance to apply the cardiac kick to retain the title. But there was a moment you saw Tyler Bate what he was looking at. It doesn't take a true genius to figure that out. He wants a title shot. And I'm sure Wesley is going to give it to him. Just don't know when. Now, the result of what happened a week ago, Trick Williams is not happy with how things went down when Braun Breaker showed up and attacked him. He speared Carmelo Hayes through a wall, but Trick Williams is willing to take care of business. So Braun Breaker shows up, and of course it was decided the next week they're gonna go collide. Now Trick Williams ran in near the end of the show to Apollo Crews, telling him, "Look, right now the spotlight is on Carmelo Hayes, but you're a rising star. That's what you need to focus on." So basically, he knows that facing Braun Breaker, he is no slouch. So Trick Williams has to put up a lot of weight on his own, even though he's stepping into someone who is a much more bigger. So great words of advice from him. Now we do get a little interview from JD McDonough. As you know, he requested for one last match since he got called into the main roster, but Noam Dar requested him for one thing. It was later revealed that JD McDonough's call was answered by Dragon Lee, but Noam Dar requested that if he just breaks him because he doesn't want him to chase for his Heritage Cup. But JD McDonough told him, "Don't you ever get interrupting me again, or I'll take that cup away from you." So basically, Noam Dar should have just stayed out of his business. Now, our next match, we have Gigi Dolan and Jacy Jayne, at one time members of the Toxic Attraction, but now they're dissolved. This match went into a crazy, brutal match. Of course, Jacy Jayne was bleeding out, but it was, of course, a spinning heel kick, roundhouse kick by Jacy Jayne that defeated Gigi Dolan, but Jacy Jayne wasn't going to end it there. Post match, she decided to brutalize Gigi Dolan right in front of Gigi's brother, right in front of him, sending a direct message that she is a liar and a deceiver, that sort of thing. I don't know. Now, our next match, we have Axiom versus Scripps. Now, Axiom made a vow that he was going to expose Scripps. Now, Scripps has viciously attacked anybody, but luckily Axiom stood up against him. Not as the hero, but a guy who's willing to stand against a guy who thinks that he knows everything. But it was a pretty good match. A lot of super kicks, but it took the golden ratio to take down Scripps. Now, Axiom tried to help him up, but Scripps was not happy. But luckily, Axiom exposed Scripps. And we all knew this from the very beginning. People talked about it for months since Scripps made his appearance, and it's none other than Reggie. So Reggie is Scripps, in case anybody asks. Now, things are going back to normal for everybody, especially Helen Henley, Josh Briggs, and Brooks Jensen. So Briggs and Fallon tried to apologize many times, but however, Jensen didn't see it that way. He sees, look, thank you for not giving up on me. But Jensen learned a few things, so he thought that maybe there's something they can do for the bar. Apparently, he thought maybe they could set some things up for Fallon's family. So he basically brought him some good ideas. It seems now things are going back to normal for them, so which is a good thing. Now, our next match, we have Dragon Lee versus JD McDonough. So I thought this match was pretty good, but of course, Noam Dar was going to show up and try to get in the head of Dragon Lee, which he did. He tried to get involved, but it was, of course, JD McDonough with the Devil's inside suplex to put away. But in the post match, Dragon Lee will not tolerate Noam Dar getting involved in his business. So possibly Noam Dar should have just not get involved because now his Heritage Cup is in danger. So we'll see how that plays out too. Now, our next match is Joe Gacy versus Joe Coffey. Now, if you remember the stipulation, Joe Gacy said that if he beats Joe Coffey, then the Dyad will have another opportunity for the NXT Tag Team titles, which Gallus completely has. However, the other part of the stipulation said if Joe Coffey wins, then the Dyad will not have another opportunity ever again as long as Gallus are the tag champions. But Ava Reigns said this, that if he wins this match, he has to win one for himself. So the match was pretty good, but as always, the Dyad was going to get involved, and of course, Ava Reigns got involved, distracting Joe Coffey, allowing for Joe Gacy to apply the upside down, and boom, winning the match. But however, Ivy Nile, who had it with Ava Reigns, feels like this is totally disrespect. I mean, the X factor with the schism is Ava Reigns, so I don't know what she's planning to do, but if I'm the Creed brothers, I'll keep an eye on her. Now, as you know, recently we saw Danny Palmer. She was, of course, witnessed that someone attacked her best friend and tag partner, Soruka. So basically, she's ready to make her debut. She was video chatting with Soruka, but here comes Hank Walker and Tank Ledger to give her a little cheering squad mode, which she did. And of course, this guy named Obafemi was there. I don't know, he didn't say a word, but who knows. Now, we do see Danny Palmer makes her debut against Tatum Paxley. A pretty good debut for her, on the NXT brand. But I don't know, like I don't know if people are trying to compare her like to Soruka, how she did things, but no, I know we can see some good things coming out of her. But one thing it was crazy is when she did it high elevated. I'm not sure if it's a frog splash, but it was a pretty good one. Really high elevated one, boom, to put away. Now, we do see Eddie Thorpe in the PC. Apparently, Damon Kemp is trying to put him as a young boy, basically like saying, you got to do what I say. But of course, Eddie Thorpe's not going to tolerate that. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up in a match down the line. Now, Chase University are dealing with a dilemma because Andre Chase was viciously attacked by Braun Breaker. So Duke Hudson decided to step in as a substitute. So basically, he stepped into it, but we'll see what happens more. I can't wait to see what other segments are going. Now, our next match is the NXT Women's Tag Team titles. Kaden Carter and Katana Chains taking on Alba Fire and Aladon. Man, that match was pretty good. But the obvious thing that many people question, are these titles going where, of course, Aladon and Alba Fire going? Yes, they're going. That's the idea. But they did Aladon and Alba Fire did a pretty good combination to put away Katana Chase. Katana Chase even has her face all bloodied up, but looks more like the tag titles are going exactly where they're going to be. Now, Dijak, as you know what happened last week, he sent a direct message to Dragunov telling him not to show up to the arena, so he did. So he said that he's going to break him some more the next time he sees him. So we'll see what he does, because if I'm Dijak, don't underestimate, of course, Dragunov. Now, our last thing that we witnessed, our current NXT Women's Champion Indy Hartwell was, of course, called into the main roster. But unfortunately, because of what happened last week, she got injured and she had to relinquish the title. Now, I know there's people talking about this on social media, like saying, what the hell is wrong with this? Like, uh, first Roxanne and now this. So we don't know what is the deal. But, however, they said they're going to start a tournament next week for a new NXT Women's Champion. But one thing Indy's Hartwell is willing to say is her reign may be short, but at least she can say that she was happy that she got one of her dreams come true, and that's a good thing. I mean, not a lot of wrestlers can say that, but for her, she's amongst those that can say it. But as the moment she was leaving, Dexter shows up, and Index reunited one last time, and I'm like, oh, every time I see that, Booker T said something when a man loves his woman, and I think of that one song that we know that you guys know I'm talking about, like when a man loves a woman. I thought of that moment when seeing that. Thanks a lot, Booker. You got that in my head. But I did like how Vic was saying, if I know Beth Phoenix is watching and crying that Index are united, which is true. I miss when Beth Phoenix was telling the Cinderella story of Index. But that doesn't end there. Now, as you know, she relinquished the title. Every moment when we see someone relinquish the title, they leave it in the middle of the ring. And guess who shows up claiming that it's her belt now? Tiffany Stratton, then Cora Jade. The whole women's locker room shows up fighting who's going to get this title. This is going to be a big tournament. Obvious question is who's going to win it. But we just got to wait and see how they're going to stack up this tournament. I'm sure everybody's kind of curious on that. And I know some people are saying Tiffany Stratton should be in it. But we'll see. That's something we're going to pay attention when that day comes. So I think that's pretty much it with the NXT and every other review. So let's talk about some news updates. Okay, for all wrestling fans out there, most specifically, some of you Hikaru Shida fans out there here in the US are asking, where's Hikaru Shida? Well, Oz Academy has announced for their upcoming event on the 14th, Hikaru Shida will participate in a three-way match against Rina Yamashita and, of course, Sayuri Inoi. So she'll be involved in that. DEFY Wrestling has announced for a little collaboration with British promotion Progress Wrestling in June on the 25th in Toronto at the Rec Room. They also announced that Smash, the Canadian promotion, will also do something with Femmes Fatales. So that's kind of interesting. Both shows will happen exactly on the time of the Forbidden Door. Now, MLW has announced that they will be broadcasting some of their streaming starting in June at Fight TV. Now, we talked about how things have been going south for them. I know they try to struck a TV deal, but having many of their materials in Fight TV, I think is the best thing for them. As you know, the Reels, the channel they've recently been doing their shows at, struck a deal with Peacock, but we all know the real reasons of that WWE has exclusively on that one. So we'll play down on that one. Now, good news for everybody in the Japanese wrestling world. Shinjiro Otani, as you know, this was reported on Monthly Pro Russo, that he's still continuing to rehab after what happened last year with the when he injured his cervical spinal cord during an injury. But he even said that he doesn't blame Sugiura for what happened. I mean, look, we've seen these type of things before. Sometimes wrestlers, when they hurt other wrestlers, even if it was intentional, it kind of brings them down. If you guys remember years ago, Rey Mysterio was looked as the guy who murdered Beto Aguayo Jr., but Beto's family never saw it that way. Ray even thought about quitting, but they convinced him not to because they don't blame him for what happened. Things happen like this, and I think that's what Otani is trying to prove. Like, look, and the accidents meant are always happen, but he's doing the best he can to get back out there. I'm not sure if he'll be able to wrestle again, but that's still like the open question there. Now, good news for Impact Wrestling fans. It was announced that Jade Chung, who is the wife of our former Impact Wrestling World Champion Josh Alexander, is now officially part of the broadcast team. This is going to be good, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see moments where Steve Macklin gets in her face, calling Josh Alexander a coward. That's something I know we could expect. West Coast Pros announced for their Kid Zombie show on the June 9th. Rachel Ellering will be there, so that's good. More interesting developments for brand new promotion, Spark Joshi Puroresu of America. For the Ignite West, it takes place on the 16th of June. Sumi Sakai will be participating. Now, if you guys remember this, a while back, Sonya Deville had a stalker who was attempting to kidnap her. Well, some good news. Justice has been done. That bastard is now serving 15 years in prison. So, yeah, I know she had a whole ordeal with this. I know she had to go to court to deal with this scumbag. But I'm glad that he's going to pay the price. I'm sure she will finally get a little closure and peace from this. So, good job. Justice is served. For the JCW After Hours Show 3 show that takes place in June, the JCW title will be defended. Jordan Oliver fights against Bam Sullivan, so this is going to be a good challenge for him. For all you Mio Momono fans out there, as you know, they recently had the Marvelous Show. As we speak, Mio Momo is now the new AAAW champion. So this is great news. I'm sure that everybody is happy. Not to mention there was tears amongst everybody. I mean, there were tears with Riko Kawahara, including Nagayo. That's pretty sweet. One of Nagayo's proud students won this belt. Now, finally, our GCW updates for our fight night on the 11th. On the 11th, we have Coughlin versus Mander. So that's going to be huge. Strength versus strength. For I Can't Save You on the 22nd of May, the GCW World title will be defended. Masha Slamovich defends it against, what's his name? Mance Warner. So, yeah. So, let's see what the Southern Psycho will do. Now, for the Cage of Survival 2 on the 4th of June, Hijo de Vikingo will be participating, but his opponent is none other than Ninja Back, and you know what he'll say? You can bet on it. And finally, for our Thank Me Later show that will take place on the 7th of June, it's already been told that Rina Yamashita will be in action, and she's taking on the cutest in the world, Maki Ito. This is going to be interesting seeing those two. Recently, we did see those two team up with Veni, aka Asuka, in the match, all three together. So I'm excited to see that. So I think that's pretty much it for our news updates. So I think that's pretty much it for now. So let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, we have AEW Dynamite. I'm so excited for that. And also, we have Wrestling Dondaku by New Japan Pro Wrestling. As we speak, the IWGP World Heavyweight title is defended. Sonata will have his first title defense against his former teammate from LIJ, Hiromu Takahashi. Now, will Hiromu dethrone him? I don't know. I'm kind of excited to see that. I think we're also going to have some interesting matches taking place on that particular day. If there's anything else I'll be reviewing, I'll see what happens. We'll just wing it for that. So those two will definitely be involved in the next episode. But if there's any news updates, I'm willing to share it. There'll be more Unagi Sayaka Watch coming up real soon. I've also decided I'm going to do another DWZ discussion, but this one revolves with the Cosmic Angels. As you know, Mina Shirakawa and Waka left. But the obvious question is, where does the Cosmic Angels go from here? Now that the end of an era ended and a new one has begun. Well, that's going to be a long, good one to talk about. So that's pretty much it for everyone. So I will see you at the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.